Hello viewers, welcome to our webinar An Evening with Team Bioforge. I'm your host for the evening, Nita Islam Mahmood. Before we commence our session, let me introduce you to my co-host.
Hello viewers, I am Hassan Mohammed Subi, your second host for this evening, and let me just welcome you to an evening with Team Bioforge, where we'll be having a little chat with the founding members of Bioforge.
Bioforge Health Systems Limited is a company that established themselves as a pioneer in the field of biomedical sciences by winning the MIT Solve Challenge 2020, as well as being a grant recipient from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, let me introduce you to our first guest of this evening, Dr. Diwan A. Chaudhary, the founder of Bioforge. Our second guest, Khandokar Sajid Mahmood, the software team lead of Bioforge, and our final guest, Muttaqin Islam, full stack engineer of Bioforge. For the people viewing, let me say that this webinar is split into 4 different segments. So, moving on with our first segment, the introduction of Bioforge. My first question will be to Dr. Chaudhary sir. Sir, what inspired you to create Bioforge?
Yes. Thank you, first of all, Merjubin and Hasnain, for having us. Actually, we're very grateful that you considered that we should be getting the audience and the opportunity to share our story. And certainly, we're going to be talking about all of the stuff that can come in useful, and also stuff that is interesting, so that anyone listening can find it kind of useful. So yes, what inspired Bioforge? Actually, if I'm very honest, what inspired Bioforge was pain and suffering. That's the truth. When I did my medical internship back in Bangladesh Medical College, this was back in like 2012, 2013. So back then, one of the things that I came across a lot was, even though Bangladesh's healthcare sector is considered to be a very low cost sector, like compared to the rest of the world, one of the problems we do face is the cost of healthcare based on the cost of devices, and not only devices but also the technology related. It's ridiculously expensive. I'll just give you an idea. When we were doing our internship, one of our professors, she came along with this device. It looked like a tab, right? It was like a normal iPad or something, and it was a little fat. And the speciality was it just connects to an ultrasound device, and you can actually, it's very sensitive. You can detect nerves underneath your skin, right? When you use the ultrasound. It's pretty cool. So have a guess how expensive that device was. I was just asking, right? How much does this device cost? It's very useful because it allows doctors to inject anesthetics directly into the nerves under the skin. So it's very useful, but just have an idea how much do you think a device like that should cost in a healthcare sector? I'm just asking anyone. Sajid, Muttaqin, I guess you guys can also go ahead and try giving an answer.
I'm guessing 50,000.
50,000, right? Merjubin, any idea?
Or maybe 1 lakh.
All right. It was 25 lakh. Right, that device costed 25 lakh, and that's the sort of stuff that I was seeing on a regular basis. It's a very good device. It's a world-class device, but that's the idea. You get what I mean? These are the sort of things that I was seeing. And the problem with this is it's nobody's fault, to be honest. But what happens is when the devices are expensive, the healthcare center, the hospital itself, also has to charge considerable costs when using these devices to the patients, because as a business entity, they also have to survive. So that really got my mind thinking. And also, there were many times where patients couldn't even afford treatment, especially in intensive care. It was just really sad to see that, treatment was something I, as an intern, had to go and tell people, do you have enough money, or are you financially ready to take this step? So it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to do these sort of things. So one aspect of the problem, not the entire solution, but one aspect of the problem is the cost of devices, and the solution is low-cost, affordable devices which are good enough to work on a medical standard global level. And I guess, yeah, that was the suffering and the pain that I shared with a lot of people around me. And I feel like it was something that we had a belief, or we have a belief, that we can solve these problems. And that's where it started from. That's actually the birth at the beginning of Bioforge, in a short story.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. So, how did Bioforge come to life?
It actually started really simple. We were exploring how we can make things, right? So, like, again, this was me back in 2012, 13, 14. Like, how can you make things? So, the thing is that whenever you make any medical device or anything, obviously you have to explore how to make it out of safe materials, medically approved materials, which are not harmful for the human body and stuff. And a good option, a good answer back then came up was actually 3D printing. And why 3D printing? It's because, like, injection molding is ridiculously expensive, and you can't make everything out of metals. So the best option at that point was actually exploring 3D printing and stuff. And we had a very small team back then, and we explored what can we do, what are the expensive things that need a low cost solution, especially in balance perspective. And we went crazy. We basically went crazy with the 3D printers. We saw different sorts of things, all within the medical sector. We did also try outside, trying, just playing around with the 3D printing technology. But yes, eventually we ended up making 3D prosthesis. These prosthesis are stuff that, would have cost approximately, around a lakh. And we were able to bring it down to like 1/10 of the price, 10,000 or 12,000, 15,000. And we actually were able to test it out on a few people. And that's when we realized that there is a potential of this sort of technology. And we started exploring in what other sectors of healthcare can we use stuff like 3D. That's what kickstarted Bioforge. And the actual direct impact that we started having right there, I guess that's what really brought everyone's attention to, there is the capability to make a difference within ourselves. So, yeah, that's the story.
Now, Hasnain will move to the second segment. Hasnain, unmute your
Yes.
mic.
Moving on to the second segment, the journey of winning the MIT Solve Challenge. So, my question to all of our guests present, sir, what was your, how did you feel when you had learned that you had won the MIT Solve Challenge? How did all of you feel?
I'd give this question to Sajid.
Yeah, I
Sajid, you
think
want
I'll
to go
go
ahead?
this
Yeah, sure.
one. Wow, MIT Solve Challenge was an extremely. It was an experience. It was just we were very grateful, and at the same time, it was one of a life experience that we definitely did have. After winning it, of course, there were a lot of different things that went through. Me personally, I go through a lot of imposter syndrome. So, right after we won, there was a lot of me debating with myself whether or not we deserved this, and there was a lot of questions as to what is it that we really did. However, this entire journey as to going through the MIT Solve challenge was extremely hectic. That is one of the words that I would definitely use to describe it. But at the same time, it was very fulfilling. I mean, even if we didn't win at the very end stages of the MIT Solve, I believe the entire team came together, unified, and we were just at this point we were like, "Bhai, na jitlo, we're good." At the very least, we're here, and we've been recognized, we've been acknowledged, right? But right after winning, I believe, like I said, it took me a lot of time to really process that entire thing. But at the same time, I believe because of the MIT Solve Challenge itself, a lot of opportunities and a lot of growth were introduced to us, and it was just great. It was just an overall great experience.
I'll add a little bit to that.
Thank you.
It's actually a very difficult competition. We really didn't know how easily we went through it, because we weren't really well informed about it. But later we found out that I think over 7,000 applicants applied, and from there being selected from like, I forgot exactly the number. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on it, but it's a couple of thousand. And from there, when you realize that there's going to be like 70 teams, and we're not talking about individuals, we're talking about teams here. So teams work together in creating crazy technology. So thousands of crazy pieces of technology from which being selected by MIT. It's harder than even getting into MIT. That's how hard it is. And the fact that we actually made it through, without even realizing how easy it was, I would say it's just insane. And when the feeling later on was, it was crazy. It was crazy actually. That's the sort of stuff that we just achieved, and we felt like, we're as Bangladeshis, as all of us here, we've done our education in Bangladesh. I did it from Bangladesh Medical, Sajid and Mutakin. They're from IUB. I'm sure you guys know that. So we're all local boys. So as local boys, being on par with MIT and doing that sort of stuff, it's just crazy. It opens up so much, right? My point after that is if we can do it, then anyone can do it. Anyone from any private public university or anyone with a dream and they have something to show or share and they are solving a problem, everyone can do it. So I feel like it was hectic, it was tough, but also very importantly, it was very inspirational, and it was very reassuring knowing that we can do this. That means that hopefully we can do a lot more. So
Just to add to Bhaya's point right over there, I have to admit that the MIT Solve community itself is so very inclusive and wholesome, because the amount of support that they gave throughout the entire challenge actually encouraged and inspired us to do better. We had all sorts of we had also people helping us and giving us guides as to how to move forward and how to do better. We absolutely annoyed so many people with so many different emails for this presentation. What do we do for this document? How do we present ourselves on this particular event? And so many different aspects and I mean, the response that we usually did expect from them was, "Bhai thamo, how many more emails are you just going to send us?" However, it was brilliantly done. They gave us time and time again. They set up meeting with us when we weren't even expecting it to be a one-on-one conversation, and we were just expecting, let's say, anything on one-line emailers. But it was great. I mean, overall, it was, like I said, just great experience.
Thank you, Bhaya, and sir, for your time here. Thanks for answering my question. So, sir, my second question is for you. Sir, have you and your team participated in any other competitions other than the MIT Solve that we might not know?
Not really. Actually, we've done different sets of presentations. Like MIT Solve, for example, led us to presenting to the UN. We actually worked with the UN and presented our different technologies and stuff, World Food Program and all of that sort of stuff. But in regards to competitions, no, we haven't. It's not something that we actively look for. It's more like it was a happy accident, you could say. We came across the MIT Solve one. But if we do actively go ahead into any other parties, if we do participate in any other competitions, I guess I'll let you know. But as of yet, no, not really. We're more focused on actually the development of the technology itself.
Okay, now moving on to our third segment, the inventions of Bioforge. My first question of this segment is for Dr. Chaudhuri. Sir, could you please share how many neonatal incubators are functioning all across Bangladesh and how successful you have been in setting up these incubators?
Well, I'll make a point here. First of all, our devices are still in the trialing process, the clinical trial process. The thing about medical devices is it takes years between coming up with a device and actually rolling it out to people. For example, there have been some COVID-related response technologies being made in Bangladesh, and we're getting to know about them now. But in reality, they started right when the COVID pandemic started. And they've been working day and night, and basically it's just now that it's actually rolled out to the public. So that's over a year. So that's the fast track method. That's when you need to do something really quickly, right? So when it comes to devices, it actually takes quite some time to get these devices through the entire trialing process. There are thousands of incubators, obviously, across the country, but our devices have not yet been released. We've got plenty of people actually knocking us and asking us, like, can we have your device? Can we use it? Can we buy one? Can we buy 5? Can we buy this many? Different hospitals, different directors, different representatives of hospitals do knock us, do ask us. But we have to courteously decline because we have to stay within the rules and the protocols of the country where, after the trials are complete, the devices are safe and it's proven to work, only then can we go ahead and release these devices. So it takes time. But yes, I am hopeful that once we do get through all of this, and yes, COVID is actually having a little bit of an impact on our incubator project in the sense that everyone's focused on COVID right now, right? So we're hopeful that after the pandemic kind of cools down, we should be able to share some more good news about that moving forward.
My second question, okay. Sir, could you give us insight on the projects that you and your team are currently working on?
Yeah, sure. I would actually want Muttakin. Is it all right if Muttakin shares his answer on this one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Muttakin. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bear, for passing the floor to me. So some of the projects that we've been working on, and including the incubator, would be the vital signs monitor. Basically, it's basically the device basically reads vital signs off of the patients remotely. So doctors from around anywhere in the world can access their patient's information. Say, for example, they need to monitor the patient's vital signs like heartbeat, temperature, and several other signs, basically. So what it does is it allows doctors to constantly check on the patients, and it definitely makes their lives easier so that they're able to monitor the patients. And so এটা ছাড়া আমাদের আরো কয়েকটা সফটওয়্যার এন্ডের কয়েকটা প্রজেক্ট আছে যে আমরা রিসার্চ করার সময় বের করে আনতে পেরেছি যে some of the hospitals they're using legacy systems সে তারা তাদের সার্ভারের মধ্যে তাদের নিজেদের ডেটা স্টোর করে রাখছে, যেটা হচ্ছে তাদের অনেক কয়েকটা ফিজিক্যাল স্পেস আছে, তাদের নিজেদের কয়েকটা প্রোজও আছে, কনজ আছে। তো এইটা আমরা এখন কারেন্ট স্ট্যান্ডার্ডস এ এনে রাখার জন্য আমরা একটু রিসার্চ করে we're trying to deploy our hospital management system. So এখানে দেখতে পেয়েছিলাম যে আমরা প্রত্যেকটা হসপিটালের ডিফারেন্ট রিকোয়ারমেন্টস আছে in different departments. They have say for example there is a department that only handles admissions, there is a department that only handles discharges. So আমরা এই কয়েক ডিপার্টমেন্টকে আমরা ভেঙে মডিউল হিসাবে we're trying to incorporate them. তো এই কয়েকটা মানে সফটওয়্যারস we're trying to push remotely, যে এগুলো মানে প্রত্যেকটা সফটওয়্যার ক্লাউড বেসড হবে। তো so doctors can access their data from anywhere in the world. তারা বাসা থেকে বসে তারা এই সব ডেটা ইউজ করতে হবে। তারা মানে basically it makes doctors lives and patientদের মানে প্রসেসটা পুরো স্ট্রিমলাইন করে দেয়, their every day to day life স্ট্রিমলাইন করে দিই। আশাতে we can in the long run we can save more lives. The doctors hopefully can save more lives.
So basically these are different research technologies we're working on, like Bioforge is focused on hardware and software. So Bangladesh's একটা জায়গায় যে জায়গায় we feel there is another big problem is automation of healthcare. Automation and digitization of healthcare. It's actually a very expensive process and a very tedious process. So আমরা যেটা করতে চাচ্ছি, we want to make it a low cost solution for hospitals, and we want to make it accessible to hospitals and easily transfer করতে পারে, so that hospital management system একটা হাসপাতাল এখন অনেক টাকা দিয়ে একটা সফটওয়্যার কিনা থেকে just use something which is subscriber based or more easy to access. You don't have to buy servers and stuff. That's the sort of stuff that we're trying to focus on. But at the core, the very essence of what we're trying to do is make the world-class levels of healthcare technology available to doctors and hospitals in Bangladesh at an affordable level, and not compensate on the quality of it, but make it really good quality, and also make it something that actually has positive impact on using it and the team and the doctors and everything. So yeah, sorry Mutakin for interrupting. Yeah, that's
না ভাইয়া,
basically software side. Do you want to tell them about the other stuff that we're doing?
হ্যাঁ ভাইয়া, হ্যাঁ। So thank you for Bhaiya for explaining my point further. Um, so apart from these software projects, we have some of our COVID response projects. Basically, আমাদের current situation অনুযায়ী আমরা we try to proceed with our COVID we try to help the country with our uh, product basically project. So one of them being the Oxysaver. We've also have the air purifier, the UVC sterilization chamber, and also the Bioforge PAPR project. তাছাড়া একটা আমাদের খুবই ইন্টারেস্টিং ফানিলি এনাফ অনেক ইন্টারেস্টিং একটা সাইড প্রজেক্ট আছে। সো উই অল নো যে ডক্টরসদের হ্যান্ডরাইটিং অনেক অনেক পড়তে অনেক সমস্যা হয়। তো তো এখানে খুবই ইন্টারেস্টিং একটা প্রজেক্ট আমরা সাইড প্রজেক্ট তুলে ধরার চেষ্টা করেছি, দ্যাট আমরা we've tried to use computer vision to understand doctor handwriting so that এখানে কয়েকটা অ্যাভিনিউ খুলে দাঁড়ায়, যেমন প্রেসক্রিপশন রিডিং, তাছাড়া এরকম কিছু ভালো কয়েকটা অ্যাভিনিউ খুলে দাঁড়ায় যেটা উই ক্যান রিসার্চ ইনটু। Yeah, that's
So
I think
sorry, I do want to add to that
yeah.
point. And the reason why computer vision data is actually pretty interesting and to us it's hilarious is because we very well know how crazy doctor handwritings are, and which is why it's extremely difficult for us to figure out what they're writing. And
আমি অনেকক্ষণ ওদের কথা শুনতে হয় আর কি. They end up bro, what did you write? And even compared to doctors, apparently I have bad handwriting. And even on doctor standards, our handwriting নাকি খুব খারাপ. So yeah, computer vision, they even ওইটা ইয়েটা বলো সাজিদ, when Hasan tried testing out the computer vision system on my handwriting and
oh, it did not work. আমরা ফার্স্ট একটা রান দিছি and it did not work. আমরা ওই একই জিনিস আরেকটা র্যান্ডম হিসেবে দিয়ে লিখে দিছি, it worked fine. We thought আমাদের সিস্টেম ক্র্যাশ, আমাদের সিস্টেম কাজ করে না। সো আমাদের অনেকক্ষণ ধরে ভাইয়াকে বসে ব্যাক এন্ড ফোর্থ করাইতে হয় যে ভাইয়া তোমার হ্যান্ডরাইটিং এরকম কেন, বাট I mean coming back, this is how it is and it is extremely difficult, and I mean it is the nature of doctors handwriting, which is why it's a very interesting problem that we're trying to solve. At the same time, I believe just coming back to Mutakin's software projects যেগুলো বলছিল যে এখানে আমাদের সফটওয়্যার প্রজেক্টের জন্য we are trying to understand and really meet the doctor requirements, and we're trying to put in standards that are, technically speaking, we're trying to put out standards that we can use right now. There's a gap between the technology that is being used currently and the technology that is actually out there in the hospital. So I believe that the way to move forward, there is a lot of technology progress that has been done over the years, and there's absolutely no reason why that should not come into our country, into our medical field as well. So that is what we're also aiming to move forward with. Sorry, Mutakin, if you had anything else to add.
I think Sajid, what you've mentioned is এখানে একটা technological gapও আছে that you tried to mention. এটাও আমি বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে that there is the technology that is being implemented and the technology that is available to us. There is a gap there. So এখানে আমরা I feel like we could improve upon, and that is what we're trying to do with our softwares and our projects basically.
I think these projects are going to really help everyone. Especially, I also struggle with understanding doctors' handwriting. I never understood. So yeah, this is going to be really helpful.
Thank you.
Also, I'm interested about the powered air purifying respirator, which is Bioforge PAPR. So I want to know that what Bioforge PAPR is and how this works.
I think I'll take this one. Yeah.
Sure. If you.
All right. Yeah. Gotcha. So, Bioforge Papier was also a product of our COVID response. What really, what we were trying to do with this was basically figuring out a way for doctors to be able to be inside the COVID ward without them having to be affected. Now, masks, PPE, they were all great. At the same time, what the PAPR really does is like, imagine a space helmet, but it's something that you wear comfortably that filters the air around you, and it helps because at that point the doctors have access to their patients. We're trying to so over here we're actually trying to develop this in collaboration with a few international and local organizations, and I believe that as Bhaiya said, that with all medical devices, it takes a little bit of time, but I believe that we're moving on with good progress from our end.
I'd like to add, Kuri. Well, this is something that we've been working with, organizations in Bangladesh. You guys might have heard of organizations like FabLab Dhaka. So FabLab Dhaka is working with us on this. We've got Advanced Dynamics, a company working on this with us, and it's a very interesting project. But it's again something like any medical device, it takes time to actually make it medically sound and then approved and then bringing it into the market. But yes, that's also a piece of technology we are working with. We do have some national and international support, and hopefully it's going to be something that not only can we manufacture, but also we can export into other countries beyond Bangladesh. We're very positive and very hopeful. And I guess you guys have read a bit about it. There was a few news coverages on stuff like that, and there's some more detail on it. If anyone's interested, they can go ahead head to our website. There's a lot of projects that we've talked about there. They can certainly go there and check it out. Yes. Thank you, Majid.
Thank you, sir.
So now moving on to the last segment, career advice. So my first question would be to Dr. Chaudhary. Sir, as a prospective employer, what skills do you think a fresh graduate should possess in order to shine in the field of biomedicine or biomedical hardware?
All right. I'll give some generic advice based on whatever experience we've had on recruitment. It's not just going to be for biomedical, but for any sort of recruitment. I feel like that's something I've always tried telling this to a lot of people who do apply and stuff. So it's something that I feel is something we should really talk about in a lot of detail. So one of the things is, whenever we've interviewed hundreds of people, right, since the inception of Bioforge till now. I don't know if we interviewed over 1,000 people or not. Most likely not, but we're certainly in the hundreds. So one of the things we do come across again and again is number one, we want to see more than how much a person knows or how really good they are in their field. What we want to see is their capacity. Do they obviously know the basics of their field? And then what we want to see is, are they capable of learning? Because if I'm very honest, there's a different mindset when it comes to joining an organization or joining a company, and that is whenever your employer or HR or your interviewer is talking to you, one of the basic things they have in their mind is this individual has done the basics of university. They don't have practical experience out there in the world, so there is a lot of learning that has to be done in the first few months, 3 months, 6 months of recruitment. So there's a lot of technical knowledge that they have to collect. So more than actually their basic knowledge, more than actually their advanced knowledge of their field or their sector, what we do look at is, are they capable of learning, right? Are they capable of, in the biomedical sector, there isn't much being taught, say, to hardware engineers, to electrical engineers, to computer software developers about the biomedical aspect, right? The health sector. So there's a lot of things that we have to teach them. Me, my team members, they have to teach a lot. So one thing we always look for, and I'm sure a lot of employers do look for this, is their capacity to learn beyond whatever they have, their natural tendency to learn stuff. That's number one. Number two is, I think that's also equally important, is their personality. Right? This is something that a lot of people don't really pay attention to, and we catch it. You get a scenario where, you can have really, really good high performance individuals, right? They're really smart. They're really good at what they do. But sometimes, because of the fact that they're so smart and so good at what they become very arrogant. They become very like, I know what needs to be done. They lose their humility, and they start bringing in a toxic element whenever they work with the team. And I guess the whatever I'm telling you guys, you can relate to. There are people out there. There's certainly that when you think about like this, when you think about it, you might have someone that you did a group project with or worked with or just friends. They're very good, but they have this toxic element to their personality because of their very goodness. Like they become very arrogant. So that's something which is very off-putting to an employer. More than actually, again, the humility is very important. Can they work with the team, or are they like a lone wolf? Like I'm going to do it my way. I won't listen to the team. That's not the sort of stuff that an organization really wants. An organization always believes, because it's an organization, that the many is better than the few. That many minds working together is better than one mind working by itself, no matter how smart it is. Right? No matter how great a singular mind can be, working in a team, collaborating and making things happen is much more important. So I would say the second thing we look at is humility, and basically understanding that you have to work with a team. There's always going to be a lot of things that people will have to like compromise and have that sort of friendly sort of approach. So that's the sort of stuff which I guess is I would say is equally important. So yeah, if I bring it down to two things, it's not even how smart they are. It's not about how much they know about the field. Are they willing to learn? Are they hardworking enough to learn and develop their skills? That's number one. And number two is, are they humble enough to accept that there are people around them with which they would have to agree and disagree, and accept the fact that they will have to work together in a comfortable atmosphere. So I think these are the two most important things whenever it comes to bringing on any sort of employment or any sort of recruitment. And yes, with that, obviously, whenever anyone applies with their CVs, honesty. Whatever they write in their CV, they have to be able to back it up in their interview. They have to be able to talk about it. I think we've all seen those memes, yeah. I lied on my CV and look where I am, and then you see a random picture of like a horse. I don't know, writing something, or you get what I mean, really weird stuff. So that's something yeah, you can lie on your CV, but usually you don't get beyond the interview if you lie on your CV. Right. We all do a little bit of lying, 5%, 10% lying. Someone says, I'm good at French, and then they're not good at French. Only they can say something like omelette du fromage or something like that. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But when you say I am master of say machine learning, or I am the father of artificial intelligence in Bangladesh, and when you ask them the sort of stuff in the interview, can you tell us what you've done? And then no, just no, I just read a book and I feel very smart. So that's when we have problems. So it's about being honest. It's about being sincere, and yeah, backing up whatever you say in your CV. That's also very important. That's what we do. That's a red flag for us, basically. If that happens, we kind of we can't trust that person. So that would be pretty much what we do look for when we look for an employee.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. Now, my second question is for Muftakin Bhai and Sajid Bhai. So, Bhai, what advice would you give to university students, current university students, who are about to graduate, who are in their fourth year, who are about to step into the corporate world? What advice would you give to them?
I think so. A lot of the points have already been very nicely compiled by Rafal. However, like Bhaiya said, that when we are hiring on a particular CV, we would definitely like to see all the projects that you've worked on, and the amount of skills that you have accumulated over your entire course of your university. At the same time, I believe also another great example that Bhaiya gave regarding working with group projects. So it's very basic to know that I have to do good in my field, or I have to get a great CGPA and I have to maintain my studies in order to get a good job and everything. That is definitely the basics of it. At the same time, I believe, Jay, you have to also be able to hone your soft skills to really work in a collaborative office, because as you're moving forward into the corporate field, it's not just you working with a small group in one course for I don't know, a couple of weeks anymore. At this point, you're moving forward. You're working with many different people with many different personalities. You have to go and you have to get along with so many different things on so many different levels. So, I mean, the at the same, so figuring out your coursework, your studies is the basics. Work on that definitely. Work on being able to do what you want to do, and having that drive of really knowing that this is something that I want. This is a particular field, or this is something that interests me, and I want to learn more about it. Dig deep. Don't just wait and expect university to teach you everything, because university doesn't really give you um, a deeper knowledge of things. They give you really the basics, the introduction to what you want or what you need to be able to get into the world out there. However, for you, you need to dig deeper into the particular topic that you want to, that you have interest in, or that you have passion for. So do your courses, do a little bit of research on the side, maybe on your group projects. Even if you have annoying team members or annoying members that do not do the work, try to get them to collaborate properly, because these will help you along in the further along in your future. And I mean, yeah, I guess with all of this, that would be my advice to people graduating.
I'll just add into that. I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
Advice to the people graduating: find out what's going to make you happy, right? What's going to make you feel successful, right? So আমাদের দেশে আমি বাংলায় বলবো because I want this message to go there very clearly. আমাদের দেশে success is usually associated with কে কত টাকা বানাইতে পারতেছে, কার কত স্যালারি হচ্ছে, কার কত হচ্ছে। এটা it's sad but it's true. That is um, one of the main indicators of success in our societies. And ওইটার সাথে obviously হইতেছে reputable organization এসে, yeah, that's all fine and good, but I've seen it so many times that people aren't really happy. They are given an external definition of what makes them happy and successful, and they run with that. The fun thing about working in a startup, working with so many different teams and members and mindsets and beliefs, is you start to see a very different picture of what happiness and success actually is. And it's something that a startup is like that. Everyone kind of has to ask themselves, why am I here? What am I doing here? So one of the important things is, when it comes to healthcare, I mean, jeta niche keu boli, and also I tell my team members, is we're not money like working on some money like technology like a truck, or we're not making a light bulb. We're not working on an accounting software or like a photocopy machine. We're working on saving people's lives. So that's something which is very huge and significant. A lot of people were like, that would be satisfying enough for them, right? That would be fulfilling enough for them, having that sort of impact. So that's something also I would say, fresh graduates, they need to do some soul searching, look really deep inside themselves and find out that would they be happy with just a good salary, or would they want, obviously a salary is an important factor, but do they want to also feel like they're having an impact, and do they want to feel like they're making the world a better place? If that's something which is important, then I would always say, when you're young, when you're a fresh graduate, go ahead, take a leap of faith, take a little bit of risk, and try something that everyone else might not be doing, right? And always understand your field, always understand where you want to be, and yeah, that's very important. When we see that passion in a young graduate, that really wakes us up. That really catches our attention. There, okay, we have someone to শিখার ইচ্ছা আছে, সাথে he's also, yes, I want to work in healthcare. We have so many members on our team that, okay, if I ask them, I know right now, why are you doing this? One of the first points would be that, I want to see something happen better in Bangladesh's healthcare sector, and being part of that is something that they are happy, loving to do, and that's something that is, you could say, for many of our team members, at least for now, their calling. So এটা কিন্তু very important. Always answer to your calling. For young graduates, it doesn't have to be healthcare, it doesn't have to be biotech, whichever field it is, always answer to your calling. Find that calling and see if you're happy doing that for 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Is that something that you would want to do? So yeah, find those answers first, define success for yourself, and then yes, with your passion, with whatever you've achieved, go ahead into that field, doing the required research, and then finding what you should do. So yeah, thank you, Sajid, for letting me add that question. And Mutakin, Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Bhaiya. So thank you for passing it to me, Bhaiya. So I would have wanted to talk about some of the overlooked um, personality skills that are usually overlooked upon. So one of them being communications. So আমরা এখানে to work in a team, it's very important to communicate within your peers. So say for example, আমি একটা জিনিস করতে যাচ্ছি, it's very important so that you are aware of your peers feelings and their personality, and it's really important to communicate your views and values onto the other person so that they feel like they are respected and their opinions are also respected. So এই জিনিসটা is very overlooked upon while students are studying in their university. Of course, CGPA, extracurricular activities is very important, but I think এই জিনিসটা communication and their tenacity to learn more, but এই জিনিসটা is very overlooked on, and এই জিনিসটা um, people should really pay attention to আর কি. Yeah, I think, yeah. Bhaiya, would you like to, or Sajid, if you would like to?
No, I think we all I think we all agree. Back to Hasnain, I guess. If you want to go ahead.
Thank you, Bhaiya, for your time, for your answers. It, I guess, helped a lot of people, a lot of our viewers to understand what skills they should have. So my last question would be, what advice would you give to students that are aiming to represent Bangladesh on a global platform like the MIT Solve Challenge?
I'll start this, and then I'll guess Sajid and Mutakin can add on to this one. So one of the things that we felt is very, very real and very much something that really hit us was even though we're in Bangladesh, we're in a country with very limited resources and very limited technologies. If you really put your heart to it, if you work really hard and you do solve a problem, it will catch international attention, right? Given that you knock on the right doors. And also, we should never think that just because we're sitting in Bangladesh or something, that we're not capable of working on par with universities like MIT and Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge, right? And when I say this, I want to make something very, very clear. We are saying this, Amra Tinjan at least, we are saying this from the perspective of private universities and colleges, right? Bangladesh Medical is a private medical college. IUB is private, right? NSC is private, and there's a bunch of other private. I am not talking about public institutions, right? I am not talking about institutions যাদের নাম আমাদের দেশে might be considered to be very respectable. Yes, they are respectable. But the thing is that there's this subconscious mindset that if you're in a private university, তাহলে তুমি জীবনে কিছু করতে পারবে না, or তাহলে you're not from BUET, you're not from Dhaka Medical, you're not from the big names, what else can you do? You fail to get in there, that's why you're here. I would want to very clearly say that that is not the case, right? We have brilliant minds, we have brilliant capabilities within the private community, within the private sectors, right? And that's something I want to say to everyone who's listening. Anyone who wants, MIT Solve is one of the most competitive and one of the most challenging challenges out there, right? MIT Solve, it's the name itself carries a reputation that everyone wants to take, everyone wants to be part of. So ওইখানে আমরা, us again, private boys, আমরা যদি এটা করে ফেলতে পারি, I believe anyone from from any private university in Bangladesh should be able to. Public পারবে, not that ওরা পারবে, নিশ্চয়ই পারবে. But the thing is that there shouldn't be the difference in belief in the capacities of individuals. So that's my you could say that's my personal agenda in a way that I want public students from private universities to believe that they're in many ways on par with the public ones. Just because you've been told something from a very young age, that doesn't mean it's true for everyone, right? Maybe in some cases, maybe you can see on a general or a statistical scale, better performing students get into more competitive places like in-demand places like BUET or Dhaka Medical. But that doesn't mean that all of the silly ones end up in private university. That's absolutely untrue. There's so many smart people in the private sector, and I personally love working with people from that sector because it's যেসব জিনিস আমরা খুঁজি, the things we look for in employees and stuff, we see that a lot more in the private students. Like, they want to learn, they want to understand, they want to prove themselves, they want to show that they're capable of doing these things, and that's a wonderful thing. So coming back to representing Bangladesh on a global platform, if you have a good idea, if you've done some sort of testing internally, if it's just like there's a huge difference between idea and prototype. Right. So anyone who wants to go into any competition or anything, it's best if you don't go with just an idea. Try to take a prototype, right? Because it's a huge step forward. But whenever I would hear someone, if someone came to me with a healthcare technology idea, like I have an idea, I'm like, okay, tell me your idea. So that's different. And if someone comes and shows me a prototype, like I have a working model of what I've been thinking, it doesn't do 100% of what it was meant to do. It does 60% or 70%. That has a much more significant impact. So I believe that's something also which is important in challenges, that just then more than just ideas, if you can actually show them working models, working devices. That's what actually also we did with MIT Solve. That is not just an idea we took. It's a little difficult to explain, but what we did wasn't just like come up with an idea of a low cost incubator. What we did was we brought in a lot of different sorts of pieces of technology, locally available, rapidly deployable, which can be used in low resource settings like Bangladesh, many rural areas. Globally, it a huge impact asset. So that's the idea that you have to show it, and it's not just a thing that you just should talk about, but also demonstrate using a prototype. So yes, number one is have a working model, have a prototype, a little more than a little more than just an idea. Number two would be don't stop yourself from applying to MIT Solve or anywhere else. Go ahead and apply to wherever you want to do. Do something smart here. Apply to the places which is looking for a solution like yours. There should be a proper match between the problem that they want to solve and the solution that you're posing. They have to be matched up properly. So make sure you apply to the right places. There should be a fit. And last point, third point, is the most important point: believe in yourself. Right? Have belief, have faith that you can actually make a difference. You can actually have this impact and make a change. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much most of the points that I wanted to add. Yes.
I think I'll just add with Bhaiya over here. So for me, I believe even when I was a student, challenges, competitions, hackathons, any of these events used to be very seemed very far fetched to me. And the reason being because I probably used to always think about the consequences first rather than actually going forward with the process. So, and I think a lot of other students relate to that process, and we're all just like, করে কি হবে আসলে পরে তো না জিতবো না আমাদের তত ভালো না and all of that. But as Shia LaBeouf's meme is, just do it. But at the same time, my personal saying as to whenever I do something far-fetched that I have no idea what it will be is I keep on saying জীবনের কি আছে and I just go with it. But that has put me in a lot of difficult situations, I admit, but at the same time it has put me in places like the MIT Solve and also in a way the National Hackathon as well. So like Bhaiya actually mentioned that when you are going out into competitions, don't just go out with an idea but take a prototype. That very essence of that very idea itself is I think what helped me win the National Hackathon, because we went out and we took a prototype and we showed it. We were the last team to present, and I think we were the only ones who just didn't show a presentation on a screen, but we showed somewhat of a working prototype there. So yeah, I believe when you're starting with any of these, or when you want to apply to any of these competitions, don't at this point believe in yourself, and at the same time just move forward, apply to the competitions, see what happens. You have absolutely nothing to lose, and at this point take that risk. That would be my 2 cents into this matter. Thank you.
We have a question from Sajid Ahmed. So he has asked that in that case, we should even try even if we have the chance of failing because we'll get invaluable experience. So what are your thoughts about it?
Absolutely. But
I agree 100%.
Absolutely. Like my personal experience in Bioforge, beyond that, everywhere, is everyone sees the pillars of success, but those are founded on pillars of failure. And when you're failing all the time, you learn a lot of stuff. If you fail and you don't take something from the failure, then yeah, you're just going to keep failing. But if you fail and you look at that as an experience and you take something from there, that's and এটা না, the important thing is this is something that সবাই অনেক arbitrary ভাবে ইয়ে করে বলে যে failure is the pillar of success. But I'll give a very specific example of what I mean. Right. So Mutakin did mention about vital signs monitoring devices. Right. We did write up an article for this, and we wanted to publish it. I'm happy to say it's actually been published. Publication হয়ে গেছে, and that's also a very big achievement. On like we feel it's a great thing that we've been able to do. Very recent. We'll be sharing about that also online over there. So it our first submission was not our first acceptance of publication, right? Wearable vital signs monitoring devices and all of that. It's not something which is easily accepted, and it's a big deal. So আমরা যেটা করছি, from the first one, when we applied, and we got a response of why it's not being published or why it's not accepted as a publication. We took that all of that experience. We took all of that. It did hurt us. It did make us feel very oh dear, what happened? But it was the first time we actually applied for it. So after some time, after you get over the emotional response of what just happened, then you start looking into the feedback. Why did that happen? And then you reach a point, a very important point. This is the whole reason I'm saying all of this. You reach a point where after your failure and you realize why you failed, do you continue trying this or do you abandon this? Right? There's this very specific point. That is when your experience or whatever you've learned should tell you that whatever I've learned has now brought me to a place where if I do this again, I'll be able to do it better, and I can afford to do it without damaging or harming myself. Right? So that's when you have to take that decision. And absolutely, go ahead, fail. There's nothing that almost nobody's done it great the first time, right? Almost nobody. Literally nobody will bhul hobe. Almost nobody's done it perfectly the first time. Everyone's failed. You guys have worked with technologies. Some of you guys have done programming. When the first time you wrote a piece of code, did it work the first time? Absolutely not. Did you end up stopping learning how to code? Absolutely not. You learned from your mistakes and went forward. And that's how you should look at life. As long as it doesn't cost you an arm or a leg, go ahead, keep trying, keep failing. And just stop listening to people who might be like, fail করছে এই মানুষ কি বলবে, সমাজ কি চিন্তা করবে. Come on, man. You keep on failing and then eventually you're going to make something great. When you achieve something, when you do something really great, তখন কিন্তু আর সমাজেরও মনে থাকবে না তুমি কয়বার ফেল করছো. তখন সবাই বলবে যে হ্যাঁ আমি বিশ্বাস করছি, I believe in this person, সে করতে পারে. So yeah, just keep failing, no problem. Just like that. You need to know where to put your energy. You need to know, did you learn from your experiences of failure? And if yes, keep going. And that's that's the thing. Absolutely. Good question, sir.
Just to add with Bhaiya, code snippet just আমি আরেকটু elaborate করতে চাই যে software engineers we expect errors no matter what we write. আমরা জানি যে আমরা লেখার পর no matter how well we write it, run করার পর আমাদেরকে 10টা error দিবেই. যদি না দিয়ে থাকে, that's when we get surprised. So and that's when we really think যে আসলে what went wrong যে আমাকে error দিচ্ছে না, what's happening here. So you have to be able to understand that failures are what help you learn. Failures are what make you grow. And failures are absolutely essential. They are required. I know আমি খুব cliche জিনিসপত্রই বলছি, but this is definitely something that we are very afraid of. And I believe that we should really be more accepting and more warm to the whole idea of failing, because as you fail, you gain more experience, and you're a better person. You know better, and as you move forward, যেটা ভাইয়া বলল, stick to it. If you move forward, you'll be able to do it better. Thank you.
I think সালদের সাথে I want to add a small anecdote যে fail করতে পারলে when we're writing code we're allowed to fail. So এরকম আমাদের একটা ইনসিডেন্ট হয়েছিল, I'd like to share, যে আমাদের একটা সফটওয়্যার টিমের মেম্বার they wrote a piece of code and their expected outcome was not what it was. So সে বলার আগে কোডটা লিখে রাখার পরে সে বলেছিল যে এটা যদি ঠিক না হয় আমার নাম চেঞ্জ করে দিও. And then it didn't work, and we had to change his name legally, Rafsan to Rafsan. And এখন আমরা পুরো কোম্পানি ওয়াইড
This is actually funnier because our name Hasnain. So when we got in, Hasnainকে দেখে we were just like, oh, acha, this story needs to be out. But yeah, so this actually happened a couple of days ago, and he was very confident about the whole fact that hey, চলবে এটা না চলবে তুমি legally আমার নাম রাফসানে change করে দিও. And then he ran it. It didn't work. So এখন সব জায়গায় we're moving with the entire issue যে রাফসানে change
Yeah,
করবো আসলে.
আমি পরদিন সকালে উঠে দেখি আমাদের সব সার্ভারে, ডিসকর্ড, মেসেঞ্জার, সব জায়গায় সব জায়গায় এখন there's a new person, Rafsan. I'm like, who is Rafsan? And where is Hasnai? So yeah. But yeah, that's just a funny side thought. So yeah, always expect failure. Even if you're Hasnai turned Rafsan, you should always expect failure and not be worried about it.
Someone just commented
আমাদের
that.
এখানে আরেকটা কমেন্ট এসেছে। সাজিদ is a
Thank you, Arman bhaiya. Thank you.
So a lot of supportive messages from the followers of Bioforge.
Sajid bollo je, Ayman, you true hero, you hero. So yeah. Yes, Hassan, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for your answers and that wonderful story. So Momapu, would you like to?
Yeah, I think we had a really great and informative conversation today, but I think it has to come to an end. It's been 56 minutes now. So, any conclusion remarks? Dr. Diwan Chaudhary, sir?
I would say thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our opinions and thoughts. Number one. Number two is, yes, if anyone has any queries or any questions about Bioforge, or if anyone's interested to work with Bioforge, we are recruiting. We are looking for young people. I won't say talented people. I won't say talented people. If they're talented, then great. But we're looking for young people who want to do something, who want to make a change. If you're talented, that's an extra. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to us. If any of you, anyone listening or anything, we are most welcoming. And yeah, thank you again to the IEEE student chapter of IOB to have us in our conversation and sharing our thoughts on the matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable information today.
We would like to thank you wholeheartedly. We would like to thank you wholeheartedly from the on behalf of IOB and the IEEE Society IOB Student Chapter. And we would also like to take a moment to thank our viewers without whom this event would not have been successful. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having us.